The mobile games market is not one I've dipped my toe into very much. I've played games in the past, from the basic games of my teenage years like Cut the Rope and Temple Run, to the franchise predatory gacha games Hogwarts Mystery and Fire Emblem Heroes that I played later in life. I can't say I'd spent much time examining the number of mobile-only titles though, but I had heard of one at least that I thought would have been a fun time to play if I could. Fantasian, the latest RPG from Mistwalker, the studio founded by the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. Now my opportunity has arrived in the form of Fantasian Neo Dimension, a re-release for Fantasian, freeing it from the clutches of Apple Arcade and bringing it to many more potential fans, and I'm looking forward to it. Fantasian is a turn-based RPG developed and published by Mistwalker. The game was made after Apple approached Hironobu Sakaguchi about producing a game exclusive to their mobile platform. While Apple's involvement in the development was minimal, they did persuade the team to do a release schedule that involved a Part 1 releasing for Apple Arcade in April of 2021, and Part 2 releasing in August of 2021. This meant any Apple device could play the game, including iPhone and Mac, but that was the limit of the game's release for a long time. Critics enjoyed the game, citing a strong story, unique gameplay for a mobile release, a strong soundtrack from Nobuo Uematsu, and the environments made from real-life dioramas. They did note a dip in quality and increase in difficulty from Part 1 to Part 2 though. All of this led into Sakaguchi expressing interest in bringing the game to more platforms, along with wanting to develop a sequel. And that would happen, at least the first part, when he paired up with Square Enix, a reunion facilitated by Naoki Yoshida, aka Yoshi P. Fantasian Neo Dimension was then developed and published in conjunction with Square Enix. Neo Dimension added in Japanese and English voice acting, new difficulty modes, HD support, further gameplay balancing, and the ability to change the music to Final Fantasy battle themes in certain cases. Fantasian Neo Dimension will release for PS4, PS5, Switch, PC, and the Xbox Series on December 5th, 2024. The story of Fantasian features Leo, an amnesiac hero who lost his memories after entering a new land called the Machine Realm. While Leo's goal is to recover his memories, he is also confronted by the needs of the land in which he has landed. An infestation called the Macteria is plaguing the Queendom of Vibra, taking the energy from the world and making the environment uninhabitable. I see promise in the premise, as I do love when stories have a central personal conflict for our cast, recovering the memories, as well as a bigger, wider conflict, the Macteria, to focus on too. Hopefully they're able to intersect them in interesting ways that help develop the characters as well as the world. However, I haven't seen fit to dive further into the story details, as I hope to experience the full story for myself, but given the general praise for the story, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, and I'm sure those who have played before can get more out of the experience with the addition of voice acting. It's also hard to bet against the creator of Final Fantasy when it comes to storytelling in games. One of the biggest areas of intrigue when it comes to Fantasian, at least for me, is the combat. A lot of the trappings are similar to what you see in other RPGs with various attacks and abilities. The main difference between other games and Fantasian is positioning of your attack arcs. Each ability has an attack range or arc. For the area of effect abilities, you simply position it to hit the most enemies like you would in a lot of other RPGs, but the arcs are different. You can arc it to hit around certain enemies, or through a group to try and get as many as you can, or hit particular enemies, which is a whole new level of strategy for these encounters than I have seen in other games. There are other elements of the combat system that have me intrigued to see how they play out, especially for a console release instead of mobile. One of the other fascinating aspects of Fantasian is the Dimension. Don't know if that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, but we'll just go with that. After encountering an enemy once, you can choose to send future encounters with that enemy to the Dimension, allowing you to proceed through the world unbothered by random encounters until you have accumulated a certain number of encounters. At that point, you need to take care of all of them in an alternate dimension battlefield with some additional bonuses for the party to overcome the horde of enemies you'll be facing. The idea of saving random enemy encounters for later is one I like a lot on the surface. I think it could certainly help the pacing of games that want to retain the mechanic, and I hope that is the case for Fantasian. The mechanic did come about because the developers wanted the pacing to be better for a mobile title, and that is why I'm interested how it plays out now that it is no longer on that platform. I do worry that some of those massive dimension battles may become overwhelming, but the only way I'll know for sure is giving the game a try. On the topic of giving the game a try, I'm a little surprised Square Enix and Mistwalker didn't offer a demo for Fantasian. Square Enix has been loving demos recently, so maybe it's Mistwalker that said no this time. Over time, the game will offer more mechanics with progression involving the skill points awarded through battle, new special moves, swapping characters during battle, and a tension meter. These mechanics, though, are ones that I've only heard or read about and haven't seen too much in the footage that has been shown for the game thus far. So I'm hoping that these developments over the game will help keep the gameplay fresh as we proceed along this adventure. The side content for the game seems fairly standard, with side quests and some additional stories for the party members, along with collectibles you can obtain over the journey. Since I'm a curious creature, though, I did look up the how long to beat on the game. While the main story clocks in at around 20 hours, main plus extra is closer to 60, so clearly there's plenty for people to do if they want to go beyond the main story. Of course, hour count isn't everything, but I know there are those who really care about getting the most hours for their buck. Now, the innovative battle system is not the only content of the game that took advantage of the mobile platform to try out some new things. And I'd argue that Mistwalker went even bolder when it came to the presentation. Every landscape, every area, every step you take is in an actual custom-built diorama. The reported total is over 150 of them for the whole game to cover every unique location the characters would travel through. Apparently, the team at Mistwalker opened up a contest to design and create the dioramas, which led to the unexpected contribution under a pseudonym of the late Akira Toriyama. Can you imagine the conversation Toriyama had when he revealed that to Sakaguchi? You can tell they went about the environments differently because of how crisp everything looks and the sheer level of detail. The artist did fantastic work, and I think that will help Fantasian hold up to time really well. People talk about practical effects for movies holding up really well, and while that is certainly harder to do for games, I think this is an example of how it could work if more developers wanted to try that. Not that all developers have the level of resources that Mistwalker can claim. My one worry with the dioramas is that the environments won't seem as dynamic because they're static. There's not going to be movement of the branches, and they'll have to rely on just regular animation to do sky and all the other movement for stuff like water as well. Beyond that, the characters themselves have great and memorable designs. Despite their doll-like faces, the animators did a great job making sure they had strong expressions to help convey all the emotions they'll go through in the story. In general, the cutscenes look great. I was unsure how the regular animation would play on the diorama backgrounds, but it is smooth as can be. The voice acting also sounds great so far, although I am a little worried about the audio balancing since the acting was added later on. We'll see how it plays out though. I had some concerns about the music based on the one battle theme that has been played throughout much of the footage, but it seems that's just a track that I don't care for in the soundtrack. All of the other songs that I've heard or gone out of my way to listen to have been excellent, which I should have assumed considering Uematsu's track record. That's another reason for my excitement to see how the story plays out, so I can hear some of these songs in their original context. The UI is incredibly clear and information-rich. I think this is one of the areas that the mobile origins of Fantasian are a benefit because they had to be so careful about getting the required information on screen without overwhelming the players playing on their phone screens. The action is easy to follow and everything is clearly described and shown both in and out of battle. The UX has similar quality, although there is the unfortunate jumping of the camera when exploring around areas. I know the reason for it, since these are characters moving around on pretty much photos of the dioramas, but it can be jarring because of how frequent those jumps happen. Thankfully, the battle camera is very steady, but I could imagine some people having issues while exploring around. Fantasian Neo Dimension has a memorable and unique presentation that I think holds up well now and will continue to do so in the future. I know some people may see Fantasian as more of a novelty play given its origins, but to me, I see a lot of dedication and consideration behind its development. Sometimes a game being forced to work for a particular platform can hamstring it, but in this case, I think it has led to some fun twists on the gameplay and visual side of things that sets Fantasian apart. Couple that with the pedigree and track record of those working on it, especially when it comes to the story side of things, and I find myself excited to see how it all works out in practice. How about y'all? Are you planning on getting Fantasian Neo Dimension? Or perhaps you already played it when it was on Apple Arcade and can weigh in on your experience with the game in the comments. Please let me know so we can continue the discussion, and leave the video a like and subscribe if you have not already. I hope to see you all in the next video. Have a great day and happy gaming.